To train the dolphin, you must think like the dolphin. You must be getting inside the dolphin's head and communicating. I'm saying, aga, 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 aga. And he is saying, aga, aga. And he is up on the tail. And you can quote him.
Live and up, fuckers. It's the Joust.
Good evening and welcome to the Joust. My name is Nagy. I'm here once again with my co-host Liam McNeil. But Jousters, we have another special musical guest for you this week. Introducing this week, Mr. Vincenzo Petroleum.
I wish they could swim, but the dolphins can't swim. We can beat them like the staff at SeaWorld.
Thank you, Vincenzo. Now, Liam, it's coming into an odd part of the year for me, I think, because when I start but also seeing rugby league, my speech impediment gets much worse. When I start seeing rugby league on the television, I start thinking cold. I think
but it's been so warm.
Hot. It's been. It's like the heat has just crept up. They say summer's over, but we're actually still here.
I feel like, you know that movie, The Endless Summer?
Yeah.
That's just our life now.
That's our life.
Thanks,
That's
climate change. Thanks, Al Gore.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Al Gore, it would be a lovely, chilly evening.
That's right. He shouldn't have told us about it. How everything keeps heating up under this table.
Was it Al Gore?
Al Gore. Yeah. He told me.
So I'm very tired. I discovered there's a Photoshop app on the iPhone, and I accidentally was awake till 4:30 this morning.
I've had to wearing my chino pants, Liam. I've rolled them up slightly to expose my ankles to let the tootsies breathe.
See, and you inspired me so that I've done the same. It was a game changer. My feet are so temperate.
Yeah, but meanwhile the mid shin has taken the brunt. Has really taken the brunt of the heat. Now they're blanketed when they don't want to be blanketed.
See, this is what Jousters. I know it's always, those of you who still watch the news, you always wonder what we're wearing below the desk.
Yeah.
You know, is the news anchor wearing pants, or is he just sitting there with his balls flopping on the seat?
Good, who knows?
Who knows? Not this guy.
That's it. If only we can peer behind the curtain, Liam, we would know much more about that.
Just don't peer under the table.
That wonderful nightly program that we like to call The News. Very ominous. No.
No, I actually quite like that. I actually quite like that a lot. Let's keep the show going.
Let's get the show going. Thank you, Vincenzo.
The longer the note, the more dread. It's all dread.
And a lot of the news is dread, Liam, especially when we're looking at certain things within the Newcastle News. But this one has been the biggest signing from Mrs. Brown's butter chicken that we could possibly have. Because, of course, Mrs. Brown is still cooking chicken for everyone that comes to the club. Tours the club. It's part of that. They go to their house, which is no longer in Newcastle, but they have to go back. They have to go from Sydney back down to Sydney for her to still cook meals.
Do you think on his deathbed, do you reckon Brownie's just going to, call a press conference and say she was just getting it from Derby Raj?
The
whole time she ducked down to Derby Raj, bring it back, put it in a fancy serving dish. This is my butter chicken.
Yeah. Well, I suppose if it works, it's they do a wonderful product down there in Derby.
It's a wonderful restaurant. There's about 17 of them now.
Well, there was one in Beaumont.
And
then there was...
It's still there. It's on the corner. Raj's Corner.
Raj's Corner, yeah. Are they affiliated, the Rajas? Or are they...
Yeah. There's one on the highway at the servo there up Charlestown. It's a drive-through, yeah.
Drive-through Raj.
Drive-through curry. What a wonderful service.
Genius. Whoever thought of that. The Raj family have just taken curry to a whole new level.
Yeah.
Once it was takeaway, now it's delivered. It's drive-through. You can get it in the car. Car curry.
If you're eating curry in the car, though,
dangerous.
You'd want to have all the windows down for a week.
Yeah.
We expect the Jess to be walking into a Derby Raj next week as the intro to this show.
I'd love to.
The Raj family could take us all out.
If you're out there, we're looking for a sponsor, Mr. and Mrs. Raj, I guess. I don't know.
But a wonderful product. But the signing news... the signing news, Liam, of Dylan Brown. We haven't had a chance to talk about this.
Well,
This has
we're a
been
bit late, Jousters, because Nagy couldn't walk last week. You were disabled for a bit, weren't you?
I had a back injury, and it was terrible. Some would say, you got to look after yourself better. I say no. Some people say maybe lose a bit of weight. I say, hey, hold your horses.
Look out. Hey, that's very presumptive
The,
of
weight,
them.
the weight has
And
character.
a bit judgmental, if
If
anything.
anything, yeah. I say, listen here, Doc. All right, I don't come here to be lambasted by you, but please pay
Those
medication.
certificates on the wall don't excuse rudeness.
No, that's right. If anything, please. I'd just like to be treated.
Does that say a
fairly.
certificate of slander from Sydney University? No, a certificate of doctorism.
Doctorism, all
Yeah.
the medicines of which we are not.
No.
So I have to go to them.
Please
for-
don't accuse us of being so Jousters.
Couldn't walk last week, but I apologise for the late of getting to the news. The Dylan Brown signing now. This is widely been advertised as the 10-year with $13 million deal, unless you're looking at some other publications which refer to it as a $14 million deal, because, hey, what's $1 million between friends?
That's not like the rugby league press to show a lack of integrity, Nagy.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
not like the shills.
The shills.
The shills are usually so honest and
They-
filled with integrity and honest.
And words and letters and things that
Yeah.
they put out. But Liam, it does beg the question, which I think is on the lips of every Newcastle Knights supporter, is that was this the correct move for the Newcastle Knights, Liam?
Yes.
So now we've covered that, and we can move on with the rest of the thing.
Now, I will elaborate more when we
Please,
get to the game talk.
Yes.
But, there's so much negativity in the world, Nagy. There's so much going wrong.
Yep.
There's the war. There's Donald Trump.
Of course.
Selling cars. He's
Yeah.
a car salesman now.
yeah.
There's climate. The world's sad
Hot
right
shins.
now. Hot shins everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
All across the world. We've all got hot shins.
Will
I've
Dylan-
decided that I'm going to be a cockeyed, blind optimist when it comes to this Dylan Brown signing. I love it. You know what?
Yeah.
Be I in denial? Be I not? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not just a river in Egypt, but it is. But I'm all for it. I think it's a great signing. Again, Jousters, shut up if you disagree.
It has a certain audacity to it, which I thought was unusual for the Knights, and I do believe that
We're not traditionally an audacious club
Well, we're not
when
a
it
big,
comes to signings.
We're not a big poacher. We've never
No.
poached in our lives. You either come from the NRL sort of wants the Newcastle Knights to be sort of filled with 46-year-old overweight miners that love the
Workhorses.
game. Yeah, they win maybe 8 to 10 games a year, play for free, finish 10th, and then all go down to the pub, and it's all a good story. But now
That
we've
sounds
actually
great. I'd love to do that.
now we've signed a player that no one knew that he was.
Would you
on-
say an international playboy?
Well, some would say that. Some would say he's an international player. He has played 120 first grade games. He's played 10 tests for New Zealand, played in that grand final back in 2022. And the Newcastle Knights said, I like the cut of your jib, why don't you come and put a red and blue one?
Well, let's lean into the positivity a bit more because, again, very few people have. But just think about this. Next year, in the middle of the field, in the midst of the ground where the important things happen,
Yep.
you're going to have Fletcher Sharp,
That's right.
Dylan Brown,
Okay.
Kalen Ponga.
Hello.
Is that the sexiest, like in terms of attacking prowess and
Good looks.
spark and
Yeah,
verve
yeah.
and good looks? I think that's really exciting. Just run the ball, boys. Don't worry about game management. Don't worry about tactics. The kicking game can go to hell.
Yeah, sort itself.
Just run it.
Yeah, run the ball.
Just run it. It's like Wallabies. People who yearn for the great days of the Wallabies, they always talk about this running rugby.
Yes.
It's like, don't do anything except run the ball. I think that's Adam O'Brien's plan as of next year. Just run the ball. We're going to have no kicking at all. Just do it.
It's not up to us, Liam, I don't think, to be
It
able...
should be.
It should be. To prove whether
We
this
tried.
is a good deal or not. I think the emphasis is actually on the Parramatta Eels because they have just lost Dylan Brown for next year. They have an entire season to sign someone...
They've replaced him with Ronald Volkman.
Yeah, they have an entire season to sign someone of that ilk. They have money in the salary cap to do so.
Did you say elk?
Ilk.
Elk is a large horned mammal.
Ilk. Where am I getting the inflection wrong in the word?
I think you just think of large horned mammals.
Shit.
An elk's it's like a caribou or
Okay.
a moose. An elk's like that.
Sorry, I only played 8 games for New Zealand, but this
That's still a fair
it's still a fair few.
Most people, I would wager to bet, have played 0
I've
games for
played
New
none.
Zealand.
So he's 8 games
In
better
terms
than
of
me.
percentage-wise
Yeah.
of the population, he is ahead of 99.9% of the population.
Yeah.
In terms of games played for the New Zealand Kiwi Rugby League.
I'm not even from there, but there happens to be an opportunity for the Parramatta Eels to sign a player to go to market to look for a 5'8", to say we need someone to with our man Mitchell Moses to partner him. If they can't do it, and Mitchell Moses spends another year getting a little bit older, getting a little bit
more injured. He's out for a couple of weeks. I think. on
quite
the
a few,
sidelines,
couple plus couple, and they when
That's what they call the keys in the bowl. Couple plus a couple.
they desperately want. when they're looking for a player to be able to replace him, and they have all this time to do so. If there's no one on the market, or they have to overspend on someone that hasn't of the same ilk,
Yes.
then the bighorns, then they're going to be seen as, oh, maybe we should have offered this player more money. I have also got a part of me thinking that these old stalwart halves of the likes of the Terry Evans, the Reynolds, the Hunts, the Chad Townsends,
They're not long for this world,
They
those
are
men.
all gonna
They're
be
not
put
long
out-
for this world.
put
They'll
out
be
to pasture.
taken out the back, got the 12 gauge in their mouth, and then see you later,
Yeah.
boys.
What's
Time for the new generation.
Well, what is the new generation, Liam? Is they're just going to be betting on these prospects, which they're looking at the likes of Lockie Galvin, potentially to replace him in 2027, completely missing out of next year. Lockie Galvin is probably going to demand over $1 million.
Which is crazy to think.
Yeah, look, possibly on 1.2, and he has played 23 first-go games. He's 19 years old. He's lost 17 of them, and he just looks good at the moment. Now, if that is a player that's over $1 million, and how much is Dylan Brown worth? Probably 1 point something. I don't know, about 1.4.
And again, Joust, we're no mathematicians. It's not our forte. It's not our strong point. However, if Dylan Brown, as is to be believed, is being paid $1.3 million over the next 10 years, salary cap's going up.
It is.
Fine. All of a sudden, it's a lower hit.
It is.
As much as we slander Volandis, as much as we dislike the man, as much as we think he is a man of no integrity,
No integrity, no.
he has the game in a pretty damn good financial place.
He's got it.
And it only seems like it's trending upwards. So it's safe to say in the 10 years,
10
years, Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Speaker,
that Dylan Brown will be at the club, the salary cap might go up again, and maybe even a third time. So by the time he hits maybe year 8 of his contract, if he's still on 1.3 and the salary cap's gone up another $1 million,
Yes.
free money, thank you.
I saw an interesting take on a comment of someone on the various sort of
Mustn't have
pages
been ours
of
then.
social media, and they said, oh, the Newcastle Knights are just trying to sign Dylan Brown to get him to play with Kalen Ponga so they can win a premiership in the next few years. I say,
That's how
exactly what they're doing. That's 100% of what they're doing.
Who said that?
Oh, some person that wanted to say that 10 years was too long. I say, I don't care. Give us a premiership in 2. And
Does this person understand how sports
No,
work? We
apparently
signed
not.
him to come last.
We signed them
What
to
does this
come last,
person
yeah.
think sports are all about?
Yes, I don't know.
Oh.
Not winning, apparently. Flailing around for 8 years after a premiership win. I'll gift him the 8 years. Sign him up for 16 if he gives us
That's it. If he
beautiful
brings the
town
if
premiership.
he brings the Proven summons to where it belongs, up the F3 here. Hey, 8 years on the sideline. Just park him up in the beer garden at the Wicco. He can spend his $1.3 million out in the beer garden for all I care.
Speaking about recruitment and retention and butter chicken and the likes of the Raj family, etc., that's not Dylan Brown. A signing from today is Phoenix Crossland, the boy with the wet hair.
A man who's also notably played more games for the New Zealand Kiwis than almost everyone else on the planet.
With 2, I think, hasn't he?
Yeah,
Played 2, yeah.
That's, again, still more than you, more than I,
Making-
more than anyone in this room, I think.
I
boys.
think so. Looking at the back
Anyone-
there.
No one's pulled the black and white on for the Kiwis.
Got
no?
one up the
Just
back,
checking.
but no, that's all right. That's all we got. So there is an excellent player, someone that came in looking like he was in that reserve half role. He played a few games with Mitchell Pearce there at 5/8 and didn't really shine. It seemed like someone that would have been fighting for a contract. And then in 2023, hello, what have we got here? Number 9.
Now, Nagy, what we're seeing, and this is something that, as Knights fans, this is bizarre, which is, I think, one of the reasons why we as Knights fans have been conditioned to disbelieve in the Dylan Brown signing, is that we've never really had a competent front office.
No.
Now, we've got the two Peters in recruitment, Peter Parr,
Yeah.
Peter O'Sullivan.
The two Peters.
Those are two men who have built premiership rosters.
They have.
One thing we should maybe put in the news is Jaden Bradley's on the way out. But that's very much a Peter Parr move. We let Jaden Bradley go. Or Peter,
Tough decisions.
Tough decisions
Yeah.
there to be made. They had to be made.
Yes.
And I think what we saw with it seemed to be like they were dilly-dallying on signing some of our younger juniors, Phoenix being one of them,
Yeah.
Matt Croker, Brodie Jones. I think that through competent front office management, the dilly-dallying was because in the old days, the Knights would have said, oh, God, we are going to lose you. Please have all we have.
All the money.
Whereas Peters, Parr, and O'Sullivan have said, just stick around. We'll give you a
Another
year extension.
Yeah.
Clean out the salary cap. Bam. We've got what every Newcastle fan wants. Local juniors. And yet we rail against them so much, saying, why do they let this go?
Why
do
have
we
they
do
done
this?
that?
They're finally doing what all Knights fans have always wanted, but it's never really happened, so we didn't know.
Yeah, it seems like
crazy.
conservative approach to recruitment and retention.
Yeah, what a ludicrous thought.
And it seems like someone that has been rewarded from this, being Phoenix Crossland, staying at the club for, I don't know, how many more years did we get him for?
2 more after next year.
2 more after next year.
No, I think he was on till 26 and was
Additional 2
extended
years.
to 27 and 28.
Good for him.
And you'll remember Nagy as well as I do, as well as the whole rugby league public. If you were to ask the rugby league public 3 seasons ago, who is the worst player in the NRL, they would have said Phoenix Crossland. He's also the worst rugby league player on the planet, not just the NRL.
Yeah.
He's the worst rugby league player in the entire universe. Now look at him.
Phoenix, Crossfield, Bomberland.
Who would have thought Phoenix, Crossfield, Bomberland is our first choice 9? We've extended him and we're very, very happy about it.
New Zealand representative Phoenix Crossland playing 9, and I love it. I love
It's great.
it.
It's fantastic. A real Phoenix from the Ashes.
Underrated
story.
defender as well, I think. He likes to get up Danny Badira style, put the first contact
His
on.
line speed is not second to none, maybe fourth or fifth to none. I don't quite understand that saying. But yeah, his line speed, and you really notice it against the Redcliffe Dolphins, if you're so inclined to refer to them as that, which I don't think the NRL approve of.
Yes.
The way he leads the line speed, he just runs up and hurls himself at much bigger men, and I think that's fantastic.
I love it. I love
I
it.
love hurling myself at much bigger men, and I love when other men do it.
Now, Liam, we got a little bit
Coach
of
says he's a great leader as well.
great leader as well. Okay, thank you, Joshua. There's that's good to know.
And it's crazy to think I saw today, Phoenix Crossland this is, I believe, his 7th year in first grade.
Oh, isn't that flown by?
7 years.
Jeez, they grow up fast.
They
don't
grow up
Like,
so fast.
Hey, let me get a look at you, huh? Phoenix, look at that. Brand new contract. You're looking good. You got the big arms on him, the big
And the
luckies.
big boy pants on.
Yeah, the big boy pants and the wet hair.
I got to see him up close at the Knights Tigers game at Tamworth.
How do you look?
Woo!
Ah,
Ooh,
hello.
my heart was a flutter.
Now, Liam, the coaches like to have a bit of a play around. Sometimes with the journalists, they cop a bit of shtick, and they decide to do a bit of jive talking.
Jive talking some shit.
Just scatting all over everyone, jive talking, huh?
Thank you, Vincenzo.
Who's throwing barbs out this week, Nagy?
Shane Flanagan, with his pearly white teeth, has decided to, when he was asked a question about when he was asked a question whether he said, "Oh, Lachlan Ilias, your new halfback, has do you think he was up to speed? He's coming off a pretty catastrophic injury. How do you think?"
That's Phoenix's helicopter flying over
right,
right now.
Right.
Must have been a big contract.
It could be the Raj family decided to drop someone in to kill us all after rubbishing their fine
We didn't
restaurant.
rubbish it. We spoke very highly. of
They
the-
might have thought we were being sarcastic.
Well, I hope they don't think we were. 'Cause I love the food. I think it's great. When back in the day, just to digress slightly,
Yeah.
in my poorer days, you used to be able to go to Derby
Sauce
Raj,
and rice.
$2.50 sauce on rice. I lived on the $2.50 sauce on rice for far longer than I'd care to admit.
Didn't ever fill you up, but had a nice mouthfeel. You felt like you were having something.
Oh, but when you were young and poor like that, were you ever truly
No,
full?
never truly full.
No.
No. Meager.
Sometimes you check the bank account and you go, "Oh, I'm going to sleep for dinner tonight." Yeah. What's today's meal? Just the gnarled hatred inside my belly. That's what I'm eating today.
I opened the freezer, hopefully bread. It's hopefully the ends of the bread in there. They're still good.
The bread bum.
The bum and the head of the bread.
Yeah.
So Shane Flanagan is
Speaking of a bum head.
a bum head and the pearly whites. He said to the journalist, "You were here, weren't you? Yeah, you saw it." Huh? Instead of answering the question, then a wry smile came over his face.
That's the only kind of smile he's got in him.
And he
is,
says,
"Alright,
yeah,
so,
you can make your own assessment. I'm not going to give you the sound bite that you want, that you desperately want out of me." And I thought that reminds me of some coaches looking back to yesteryear. Some of them years wasn't even that long ago. Ricky Stewart there chewing away on his nicotine gum, also biting his lip clean off because he's so desperate for a bloody Malro Red in his mouth. and someone asked him about his history with, is it Jamin
Salmon, because Jamin Salmon did something rude during a game to one of the Canberra players, I think. So Ricky was a bit upset. That's not like Rick.
He was calm, and he just said, look, he was a weak, gutted dog as a kid, and he hasn't changed now. He's a weak, gutted dog person now.
And I think person was only there as a filler word because he wanted to use a different one.
Yes, he probably thought
rhymes with runt.
He probably thought, oh, gee, I showed some restraint there. Didn't I?
Like you're not down at the pub and just going to say, "You're a dog person, mate."
Do you reckon when Ricky goes into the press conferences, he's already signed a check for $10,000 and he's just waiting to who am I going to make it out to today?
Absolutely.
Should I just write it as fine or speaking inappropriately? I wonder if they still got checks anymore. But then also Nathan Brown, we can't go past a bit of jive talking to the journalist when the Newcastle Knights weren't doing anything, and then we managed to win a game over the Rabbitohs?
He was over Wayne Bennett. Was he at the Rabbitohs at the time?
Must have been.
Must
Anyone
have
who
been.
could fill me in there? Anyway, so it was instead of when this is when there was absolutely no one gave two shits about the Newcastle Knights at the time. But then he said, when Wayne came to town, if he thought with his big head rather than his little head, I wouldn't have to rebuild the joint. Talking about infidelity and penises.
Adultery between two consenting adults. The worst thing you can do in the world.
Wayne Bennett's penis.
There was a great one. Wayne Bennett, funnily enough, jived all over his former halfback Shane Perry.
I thought you were going
somewhere
else.
A few years ago, he was talking about he was developing a player into a halfback.
Sorry, Shane Perry, the short man.
As you were.
Yeah, they said, Wayne, you've got this fella who's not a halfback.
Yeah.
You're trying to make him a halfback. You think you can win a comp with him? And he said, mate, I want to comp with Shane Perry at halfback. I was like, poor Shane.
Poor Shane.
I think he was referring to the 2000 grand final.
He's candling the win that night. Shane Perry just went out for. He was short. He was a stout looking fellow from memory.
Yeah.
Shane Perry.
No,
It was
2006 halfback, wasn't it?
Well, they
Yeah, it
did,
would have
when
been
the Broncos won they beat the Storm with Lockyer at the 6.
Lockyer,
Perry
yeah.
was
Lockyer
7,
six.
wasn't he, not?
Yeah.
Berrigan would have been hooker, I think.
No, Berrigan was hooker, I think. Sean
I think he
Berrigan
played
was
for
hooker.
some of the year. I think he was
Yeah.
a bit artistic license.
Yeah.
With how
He's a
much-
classic kind of Peter Wallace type.
Yes, yeah.
Then there was the great one, of course, someone was talking about PJ Marsh, and they said, I forgot PJ Marsh played Origin. They go, PJ Marsh's mum forgot PJ Marsh played Origin.
I love nothing more than a bit of PJ Marsh bashing that guy. Really got up my goat for some reason.
I know, I hated him too.
Oh, no. Screw PJ Marsh. Now, Liam, I'd like you to. You've got a hat on. but-
I have been looking forward to this, Jousters. For when did you first send me your initial tin hat comments?
Yeah,
I think it was last week.
Take it.
I have been yearning to hear this, Nagy. Take it away.
Take a seat, everyone. Take your hats off and replace them with foil. I have quite the conspiracy
Set your phones
theory
to
for
do not
you.
disturb.
Now, 2025 has come with a lot of different sort of information regarding teams, overcomings and goings of players. But something has really taken my eye, and I believe the Sydney Roosters, one of the largest and most prestigious clubs in the entire...
Arguably the shittest sporting club in the world.
Yes. I believe that we are mere months, moments, or weeks, days away from an announcement that they have been over the salary cap. Hold on to your socks, everyone. That we think the salary cap sombrero, surely that could not be a place. That couldn't be an idea that's been done to death. You say, of course, the salary cap doesn't apply to them. But Liam, I see panic in here, and I think it's a two-pronged thing. One, the club is panicking, and two, nobody is talking about it.
See, now, Nagy, often when people see smoke,
Yeah.
they think fire. You
Yeah.
saw smoke with the salary cap sombrero thing, and you said there's a fire somewhere.
I think
here.
I said there's a massive...
And they've gone through and had a fire sale.
There's-
If you look at the outs for this year,
Yes.
and you think they've got rid of these players for a reason, Nagy, because these are hardly toiling journeymen, young players, your average everyday fella on the street who the Roosters have let go. That's not who they've let go on this list.
Let's go through the list. So Michael Jennings retired.
He was 50.
Yeah, he was 55 years old.
And a convicted criminal.
And I'm going to circle back to a few of these. Luke Keary, Joey Manu, Tyrell May, Dylan Napa, Joseph Swailehi, Sanili Tupanua, and Jared Waria Hargraves. So I forgot his first name.
Another man of 50.
Now, if we comp those together, you got their spearhead prop with their best up-and-coming prop with Tyrell May that they decided to let go at the same time. You think, sure, they've got some other forwards there that might make sense. Then Luke Keary. They've also their stalwart 5'8". They'd won him 2 premierships, but he's decided to leave the club. Sure.
And the circumstances with Luke Keary as well were
I know.
funny.
I will
the
come
man
back.
retired. Oh, good.
So, and then throw in Tupanua as well as Joseph Swailehi, that they went after very, very hard to get him to the club, only to let him go. Obviously, it's a big deal to rugby. But then Joey Manu, who is not only a centre and considered one of the best centres in the game, but he's also their backup 5'8" and fullback. Now, when you look at those just on surface and you think, well, they must have gone to market with some pretty serious money going into this. Who have they
And what
signed?
superstars have they brought in?
Chad Townsend. That's it. Now that raises my blood temperature, and I think, hang on a second, something's going here. Is this smoke? Is this a gas leak? Now, Liam. So I decided to look into it a little bit further.
Well done.
Luke Keary is Luke Keary in February. I'll cast your mind back to February 2024.
You always ask me to cast my mind back to
And you
things, and
cannot.
I never can. It just doesn't go there.
Luke
The
Keary
elevator don't go to the top floor, brother.
signs a 1-year extension to play this year with the club. 1 month later announces his retirement. That's a bit of a flip-flop.
Isn't it a
The
flip-flop?
flop haven't stopped flipping because a few months later he says, I've got to continue my career in Super League.
The
Now,
ScoMo special, the flip-flop, flip-flop, flip-flop.
now, if we also look at Sanui Tupanua, as well as Tyrell May, as well as today, Brandon Smith, those 4 players
Oh, I forgot about the release of Brandon Smith.
were all contracted to be
Whoa.
playing this year and were all released from their club. Now, 2 of those members have been said that they just didn't fit into the culture. Brandon Smith on his own is now they're paying a club hundreds of thousands of dollars to let him play somewhere else. It's been evident that they are down on troops. They might need him at the back end of the club. How toxic could he possibly be?
And I feel further credence was lent to this recently when, because the talk was Joseph Manu. They're going to let Joseph Manu go. He's going to play French rugby, make $10 million, and then come back halfway through the season. Has re-signed for whichever bloody French rugby club it is. So he's not coming back. So maybe they said, Joey,
Yep.
have a holiday.
Well, if they said
Go hang out on the banks of the Seine and eat pain au chocolat.
come back for
and
half
we'll
a
get you
season
back.
and we might squeeze you in for a half a season
And they
contract.
gave him a call and said, Joey, how would you like to play for a meat pie and a can of Coke? And he said, fuck off.
Now, the biggest smoking gun here in the room full of gas and the fire elsewhere happens to be that there has been absolutely zero discussion from any of these journalist shills. And I believe it's been this man who
He's had the shills in his pocket for his whole life.
Nick Politis
Not
being,
Australian.
No,
He wasn't born here.
Nick Politis.
Make of that what you will, Justice.
Nick Politis, the billionaire backer of the Roosters.
The used car salesman, let's call him what he is.
Has decided on 2 things. One, that he's alluding to the fact that he might be stepping down soon, which I don't believe an egomaniac billionaire will step down from anything unless he's forced to. And I also believe that he is the reason that no journalist will even comment any bad word on the Roosters. There was even an article written by Dean Bullfrog Ritchie that said, just randomly, we shouldn't be criticising the Roosters. We should be admiring them. What the fuck is he talking about? This club is either the only other explanation that if they are not under the over the salary cap and desperately fire sailing to get under it, to hopefully when they announce that they're over the salary cap to say we're under it now, it's a fine. The chairman stepped down. Let's just never talk about it again. Massive stonewall of all the journalists that apparently are meant to be reporting on the game. The only other explanation is that they've forgotten about how to be a club. For the first time in their 100-year history, they decided to go, hey, why don't we make 2025 a really shit year? It makes no sense. I'm pulling my hair out, Liam. They must be over the cap and no one's talking about it.
And I'm just watching with glee because if what you say is true, Nagy, it will tear the guts out of that club.
It will.
Boy, it couldn't happen to a worse group of idiots.
Can anyone explain
Get rid
to
of
me?
him.
Anyone at all. Explain to me why there hasn't been at least one journalist to say, well, the Roosters must have their favourite word they'll have to, a war chest. That's millions of dollars they've walked out of the club. They've signed one player, Chad Townsend. Surely. Why? I'm going insane. It's driving me mental.
See, it's all politics and backroom deals and handshakes and, brown bags obviously was talked about for so long. But if this truly is, to become the end of the Sydney Roosters Rugby League Football Club, I think... Remember when the Asada thing happened? They say it was the darkest day in Australian sport.
Oh, yeah.
When the Roosters get busted for salary cap cheating, have their 2018-19 premiership stripped unceremoniously, and have to play the next 5 years for 0 competition points, it will be the brightest day in world sports. Kathy Freeman.
Yes.
Sydney Olympics.
Of course.
1995 World Cup that healed South Africa.
Yeah.
This will outstrip both of them
All of them,
in terms of the good that it will do for the world. Tear it down.
Tear it down.
Don't let them start again. Salt the earth.
Kick him out of the
wells.
comp. Though we've been
Go
commenting.
scorched earth on them.
We've been commenting that they're going to do it for a long time. But Liam, we're going to have a halftime break.
But Nagy, of course. Roosters. Caleb
Roosters.
Ponga to the Roosters.
Well, that says every other week.
But apparently it came up in the news again.
What are they talking about
Who's
in the
writing
Roosters?
this? Who's writing this? Swill. The shills are writing the swill.
Distracting.
They're deriving the narrative.
Misdirection.
They've got Politis playing them like a bloody balalaika.
Yeah.
Just
A bella? Yeah. The
Greek guitar.
Oh, the Greek guitar,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah, no.
Nick Politis.
Nick Politis.
Greek.
Yeah. Oh. Yep, say no more. Keep your eyes on this, Justice. We think there's going to be a bigger story coming out much soon. But in the meantime, we're going to halftime break. And to take us to a halftime break, please welcome once again our musical guest, Vincenzo Petroleum.
Well, gonna talk about dolphins coming up later on in the show. The Dolphins, well, they couldn't win anything.
Couldn't win anything.
There's a night where they're playing at home.
Broad Meadow.
Well, Game Chat is a little old place where we talk about the game. Game Chat, baby.
Game Chat, baby. Welcome back to the second part of the Joust. Liam, I know you don't like it, but welcome back to the second.
It's not that I don't like it. It never sunk in what it really meant until one fateful day a few months ago.
Welcome back, comma. That happens to be the second part of the Joust.
Isn't grammar fun to discuss?
It is, and ridicule and critique. Especially someone like me that has such a very tender grasp on the whole English language itself.
It's a confusing language.
There's been 2 games that have played since we have been together, Liam. But the most important one was the most recent one.
There wasn't much to talk about in the Tigers game, except the Knights are the best team in the rugby league.
Yeah, best game, and they also played a bit shit, 16 errors. But
That's a lot.
But we decided
many.
to come out for round 2 at home, first home game of the season for
Now, Nagy, I wasn't at the game, and you weren't at the game.
No.
Why is that? Because we're cowards.
Thursday nights, tough to get down there, and of
And I
course,
was poor.
Yeah,
I had a
yeah.
few weeks of unemployment.
Yeah.
Forgot what that's like. It's been a while. Turns out it's very expensive to be unemployed.
It is. Say what you will about the unemployed. Don't have a lot of money. And so the people with money.
I bought a new hat. I had to call my wife. My kidney's gone, darling. I'm running on one.
It's gone.
I've only got one now.
All the people with money headed down to McDonald Jones Stadium. They're in
Not all with money.
Not-
It's got a working class town. We're
Yeah,
not
of
we're not
course.
the blue bloods. We're not the white collars up on the padded seats.
Yeah, it was
Thank God for the people on the padded seats.
Up
They're
there are
paying for the club.
up there are the
They're keeping the
cushions.
club alive.
Yes. It does seem like, once upon a time, the workers, miners part of Newcastle was seen to be like sort of really the gritty, dirty men that would go underground.
But in reality, they get paid a lot of money.
they got a lot of money. I don't know what
As in
happened.
Newcastle, working class town, they're all in the mines, they're all poor. It's like, no, they're
Yeah.
getting $100,000 a year.
Plus, they made $100,000.
Straight out of high school, they're on 6 figures.
Before lunch, they get $100,000. They say, "Please take this. We got so much money." They're stuffing it into their pockets and they're swallowing it for later. The miners are crazy individuals. I'm not sure if you've ever been around miners, but they're so immensely wealthy and hungry for the dollars. But then we managed to fight off those pesky dolphins.
I was wondering how we were going to get back to that. We did go off a wee tangent there. Sorry,
tangent,
Joust, that's not like us.
Yeah, a bit of economic sort of foray, if you will. But we decided...
Talking about society.
Society.
Sometimes you got to talk about society because we
Sometimes.
live in one.
Yeah.
We live in a society.
It's good to laugh again.
Yeah.
So it was difficult to know what kind of Newcastle Knights team was going to come up against a very talented Dolphins side. They do have a lot of right through Hamisow, Tabuai-Fidow, for example. There seems to be someone that can
We lost one of our producers.
We've lost one of the
Sorry,
producers.
Dick.
Sorry.
I think it was the clearing of the throat.
Clearing of the throat, yeah. I'm
Clearing
going
of
to
the
clear the throat, yeah.
But before we get into that,
You have to say, that's the correct pronunciation.
but you want to see
clear
the
your throat.
simplicity, the beauty of simplicity when it comes to the English language. While we're talking language,
yeah.
if you look at this ground report here from the NRL, they've said
Yeah.
ground conditions good,
Good.
weather
Yeah. Fine. Don't worry
They
about
don't want to go. They're not going to go into any more detail
Yeah.
than that. It's like it's good, it's fine, or it's shit. That's it.
Move on.
Move
That's what
on.
That's what they
We've
say
got
to
better things to talk about.
people there at the bomb. Love your work. Well, it was nice to see a brand new signing for the club playing his first home game. James Schiller of the Canberra Raiders fame, formerly.
Boy, doesn't he look like he was born to wear the red and blue?
Doesn't he ever?
He's a powerful barnstorming fella.
Yeah.
It's easy to forget how big he is because he looks kind of skinny, but he's a barnstormer.
Yeah, big
He'll storm over your barn.
straight out of that barn. No barn can stop him. But Liam, you want to talk about the back five of Newcastle?
Yeah, I thought we've split this game review. We're doing things a bit more cerebral this year, Joust. We're going to talk about themes. We're going to talk about concepts. Now, my first theme that I want to talk about, Joust, and this is something that's very true to my heart as a former back three player. It's something that's very important to me. Do the Newcastle Knights have the best back five in the competition? Now, we've got the numbers here.
Yep.
I'm going to go with this, Nagy. All right.
Yes.
So we've got the numbers here. Kalen Ponga, we'll discuss that later when it comes to there's some headwear to be awarded. You've got James Schiller with 2 tries. 102 metres run. You've got Danga Guy, 5 tackle breaks, 112 metres run, a line break. Bradman Best, 213 metres, 76 post contact, 7 tackle busts, 2 line breaks. Greg Majeur, 211 run metres, 81 post contact, 10 tackle breaks. You've got Bradman scored 1 try as well.
Yep.
I think it may be safe to say that the Newcastle Knights, at full strength here, might have one of the, at least, at very worst, top 3 back fives in the competition.
Probably the most underrated, I would say. A lot of people like to look at the,
Not by smart people.
No, dumb
not by
people.
people with intelligence.
Yeah, people that have no intelligence would write them off. And
There's no nous to some people's rugby league discussions.
to see players like Danga Guy perfectly complementing with James Schiller out the back, and of course the more rotund side of the field with Bradman Best. And
that
Greg
might
Marsh
be the
here.
most rotund edge of the league
The thick
when it comes
boy.
to a centre wing combination.
When we were watching the game against the Roosters, the trial in Gosford, we were noticing...
What a great afternoon that was too.
If you look at Greg the Bus, Brad the Thumb, and then you go... Dylan Lucas is the back row. It's the smallest of the 3. Smallest of the 3, Liam. And it seems... You think, oh my God, who would want to come up against that?
Not me, I tell you, not me.
There was a period last year, early on, that Jermaine Asako, we managed to squeeze the win. It might have been even the year before, but Jermaine Asako just had Greg the Bus's number. He said, whatever decision you're going to make, I'm going to make the other one, and it's going to make you look silly. And I thought that
remember that game? Greg looked like an idiot.
He
out
looked like
there
an
in
idiot.
that game.
Didn't know what to do. And I really thought, God, they're going to do that.
I watched him. Has this been ever played rugby league before?
Exactly. And then Greg, the Bus, decided, hang on a second, I'm going to play some rugby league. Play it right back at Jermaine.
And play it well.
Play it well.
He said, Jermaine, have some rugby league right in your face.
Right up there.
Yeah,
get it in
so
there.
I think, and then we're going to come back to this in a bit, in my third theme, I think, for the game.
Third theme.
But I think what Newcastle have here in their back five is a weapon unparalleled in the NRL.
They all add a little bit of difference
Yeah.
to each other, as well as, you got James Schiller, which has proven to be that kind of finisher that we wanted when we had Dom Young, someone that could get a bit of a sniff and get over the line. He's quite tall, breaking tackles, and just doing enough as that winger that if he gets good ball, he's going to find the line.
Over blokes
Run
too.
over blokes.
He just runs over. Remember, who was it in the trial match against the Roosters? He put Angus Crichton on his bum.
On his bum.
And that's a hard man to put on his bum.
Yeah.
And he did it. And Angus Crichton got up. He's like, what?
Yeah. And Danga Guy now is at like a certain part of his age where you might see a dramatic decline, but he really just needs to be that sort of ball-playing centre and making the smart decisions and just backing up, and I think he's doing it. Bradman Best seems to be coming into his namesake, and Bradman. He's coming into
And
his...
the best. That namesake as well.
And I think perfectly sort of complements Greg the Bus, because Greg, is not... A bus has 16 wheels and it's tough to turn around. And if they have managed to turn Greg around, Bradman's just so quick off the mark that he makes the cover tackle.
Whenever I go to the game with my dad and the opposition team makes a break, Dad always looks at Greg Marju and goes, yeah, he's not chasing. He's not going. He's not moving.
He's just
stuck in mud.
It's tough for him to turn and chase. He likes to move forwards, not backwards. Twirling, always twirling.
Always twirling, of course. It reminds me of Wendell Saylor. I remember when Wendell Saylor went to play rugby union. In rugby union as a winger, there's a lot more turning. And Wendell Saylor, he would turn as though he were a barge.
A barge, yeah.
Like remember that Evergreen cargo ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal?
Yes.
That's what Wendell Saylor looked like trying to turn around.
Turn, yeah. He's still turning, I hear. Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of Greg Buss.
Yeah. He's got one thing about him, Greg, and that's moving forward. Now, Liam, we were talking...
And taking many, many people with him on his forwards motion.
We must talk about, if we're talking about the best player on the field, it's time to take our hats off to a certain player, Mr. Petroleum.
Hats off. Hats off. Hats off. Hats off. Hats off.
Now, Nagy, I have to take exception to something you said there. You said Kalen Ponga.
Yes.
He's the best player on the field.
He was.
Would you maybe amend that quote to say Kalen Ponga, the best player in the rugby league?
I think in the entire rugby league game.
Of the rugby league,
they found
he's the best one.
Yeah, call off the search. We've got him.
After the first 2 games and watching his form in the trial, Nagy, I feel like we might regress a bit to the early days of the Joust where KP, he was just the perennial hats off.
Yes.
You remember every week for about 3 years we were doing this show back in the a different garage, a garage still, but a different garage.
Yeah, different
and
club.
every single week it was like, oh, we'll just put KP for hats off because why wouldn't you? 204 run meters, 40 post contact, 3 try assists, 5 tackle busts, 3 line break assists. He is on an absolute tear this year. He is honestly. I worry, Nagy, for the health of other teams. I worry for what's going to happen, what he's going to do to them.
Oh, absolutely. He's going to tear them to pieces. And it's just shown to be when we've got this fit and firing KP with nothing to really hold him back in terms of injuries and things like that. He finds different ways to make the other team look silly. And despite structure of defence, despite how you try to manage him, he seems to also as got himself into first receiver, second receiver. He's not just on that sweeping run that we knew that he could do. He's put all these other elements into his game.
I've got a whole thing to say about that when we move on to Fletch.
Oh, please. But when we hats off to Kalen Ponga. But when we take our hats off, we must return them to a play that we think maybe couldn't have didn't do as well as we had hoped to in our hats back on.
You put your hat on.
Now, I was happy to take the coward's route and not award a hats on, Nagy. Hats back on, but you said, no, Liam, we mustn't take the coward's route.
We're not cowards.
We must take the route of we're not the shills. We're not the mainstream media shills. We are the alternative rugby league media.
Yeah.
We must speak with integrity. And so in the sense of integrity, Nagy, who's our hats back on this
It pains me to say, but I'm going to say Tyson Frizzell.
After that rubber kick, I thought, boy, he's on one. He's on for a good game here.
But there was just a moment's key in that game where there was a very sort of innocuous drop of the ball that he should have caught, but then back on the line, he was beaten on the line, and then Katoa went straight over and scored a try, basically untouched, and it just seemed like he got called out, and I said, 2 mistakes, hat's going back on Tyson. I'm very sorry to say.
This is not the Welsh international representative
That's
that
right.
we know and love.
That's right.
If you play a game like that, you're not getting picked for Wales again.
No, Wales going to look elsewhere.
His Welsh international career ends at 6 games.
Could be over. I hate to say it. It could be the last game we see him put on the Welsh jersey.
Oh, and it's a shame. The world will be worse off for it. The world will be worse off for
Welsh. I couldn't work it.
You were so close there, Nagy. I was going with you.
Almost. Now, Liam, you want to talk more about obviously the game against the Dolphins with the stats tag?
The stats. Now, this is something that really, really excites me about this year, Joust. Now, it's always, a fool's errand to judge a game on its stats, but what I wanted to highlight here, Joust, is if you look to your screen, and if not, maybe don't be poor by a television, you'll notice that for the large part, the attacking stats are relatively split down the middle. Your run meters, your post-contact meters, your average set distance, average play look, they're all split down the middle. But look at the 2 areas where the Knights held a drastic advantage. Line breaks and tackle breaks. And what that shows me, and this is something that the Knights haven't been good at for quite some time, is that we can grit out a game, go set for set, be in it up to our gills, but all of a sudden, if we're up to our gills in this game going set for set, it's a real dogfight. We've got the X factor now, whereby those games in the past, Knights gritted out, blah, 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 mining,
boys,
and you
money.
lose.
Because
you've got nothing to elevate you above that set for set grittiness.
That's right.
So all of a sudden, the Knights are in games in terms of equality.
Yes.
But then we've got some really, really cool shit. It's just like, all right, we're going to win now.
Yes, it seems like they really put hammer down through caution to the wind. We're throwing the passes around. And I hate to say it, Liam, I wasn't a big fan of Fletcher Sharp at 6 when I first heard it. Now he has sold me, Fletcher Sharp. This is Fletcher 4 tries, Liam. What are your thoughts of Fletcher at 6?
I absolutely adore it. Now, this is another reason why I'm excited for Dylan Brown, because the last few years, this is something that's concerned us, is that so often, and you touched on this now, you touched on it, you groped it, you had a feel around, but I want to really rip its pants down and get into it right now. So we've had discussions over the years, Nagy, about how the Newcastle Knights utilise Kalen Ponga.
Of course.
Because, for the whole time he's been at the club, it's like, let's play him 3 passes wide on the left, and then just let him do his thing. But the last few years, he's been getting into first receiver a lot. He's been supporting him behind the ruck, playing tight. We're like, no, because if he's in tight, there was no running threat. If you look at the 15 different halves pairings the Knights had last year, if Kalen Ponga's playing in the middle of the field as a first receiver, all due respect to him, you're not worried about Jackson Hastings as a running threat out wide.
Yeah.
You are not worried about Jack Cogger burning you 3 passes wide of the ruck. All of a sudden, with Fletcher Sharp and what we're going to have next year with Dylan Brown, is you can have Caleb Ponga in the middle of the field doing all that fancy first receiver fun stuff because there's running threats out wide that now the other team has to focus on. They're not just going to say Kalen Pong is in the middle of the field. We don't have to mark up Jack Cogger. We don't have to mark up Phoenix Crossland out wide because there's not a concern. Yes. All of a sudden, you're going to have two unbelievable attacking running threats. So you can have Kalen Ponga playing in the middle, kind of getting into first receiver, getting a huge amount of touches on the ball. And I think we're finally starting to see the vision that Adam O'Brien has for how he would like to utilise Kalen Ponga. He's finally going to have the supporting pieces around him to let Kalen Ponga absolutely go nuts.
I've always said, in the modern, faster game post-2020, when we did all the 6 agains and whatnot and the penalties became less, that you need to have the speed.
He has always said that, Justin.
The speed, the run needs to be... The dummy can only be accompanied by the run. If there's no threat of the run, the dummy means nothing.
Exactly, and that's what Fletcher Sharp and Dylan Brown will bring. The threat of the dummy all of a sudden becomes an existential threat to a player's life.
Act on him.
And I think... what Fletcher Sharp did might be one of the biggest dick moves I've ever seen on a rugby league field. Safe to say, Hamaso Tabuai-Fidow, top 3 fastest players in the game easily. Fletcher Sharp runs at him.
Kicks.
I'm going to kick over your head.
Backs himself.
You bitch.
Yeah.
And it didn't work, but I thought it was sick.
I think if anything, he kicked a bit early. I would have liked it if it was about at a half a second later.
See, I've always been a big proponent of the chip and chase. I hate that it's not in the game. My first ever first grade try was off a chip and chase out at Marcellin Park against Maitland. My only first grade try.
There we go.
Actually, it was a chip and chase. I've been a huge proponent. I've been trying to bring it back into the game
for years,
but I don't play in the game, so that's not, that hasn't happened.
You shouted.
I got in Fletcher's ear. I just kick the bastard.
Let it sing.
Punt the skin off it, and he did, and it didn't work. But good on him.
But he went for it. He backs himself, and I think that's what we all like in Newcastle. We like a guy with a mullet that backs himself. In the end, that's all we're asking for. Liam, I think it's in particular, this is something that has really fondled your heart, and that's your crackdown.
Liam wants a crackdown.
It's not a fondling in tonight's show. It's fondling, caressing.
It's because it's sweaty in here.
It's sweaty, yeah. I'm overjoyed to say, Joust, is that this is not Liam's crackdown. This is the NRL's crackdown.
Oh, yeah.
And what we're starting to see, we saw it in the trial matches. We're seeing it in the first few rounds. The crackdown on the play the ball. The play the ball rugby league for too long, for a decade and a half, has been an absolute blight on the game. The player will get up 90 degrees facing away from the game. He'll roll the ball, tunnel ball style, and it just makes a messy, gross ruck. Now, you'll recall, Nagy, I think it was 2016, the NRL declared war on incorrect play the balls. The game had never been more beautiful. No, it did.
Did something.
Well, I've got a theory on that.
Please.
So, what we saw in, I think it was 2016, was some of the most beautiful rugby league ever, with a good, firm ball plant, a roll back of the foot.
What's the foot doing? The foot has to at least...
The foot has to touch the ball and roll the ball back. You can't roll the ball back with your hand.
It can't look like it's going to roll.
No, you have to place the ball and then roll it back.
And then the foot has to... Can it appear to touch the ball or
it has to touch the ball. It must touch the ball. I think if it was my crackdown, you must touch the ball with your foot.
It's only polite.
But what happened in 2016, Nagy, was all these teams started getting a lot of penalties for incorrect playing of the ball.
Yes.
And you know what the media said? We hate rugby league. There's too many penalties. We hate it. Change everything. Go back to the old way. Go back to the shit game that was ruining it for everyone.
Place it on the ground. Step over it.
Step over it. Andrew Fafita was the worst.
Yep.
And because the media kicked up this big stink about it, there was a game with Melbourne and the Sharks.
Oh, the 19 penalties.
Yeah, the 19 penalty game. And everyone said, the game's ruined. There's too many penalties. You should change the rules. No, change the way the players play so they're not breaking the goddamn rules. Yeah. Rules exist for a reason.
Yes.
Without rules, we have chaos. Without laws, we have mayhem.
Without salary cap, we have the Roosters. Hey! What has he done there? Oh, no.
So to see the return of the play the ball crackdown, and this is one thing I've always admired about Kalen Ponga, he has the best play the ball in rugby league.
Yes.
It doesn't get talked about enough.
No.
He stands, he makes sure he's facing towards the opposition try, he places the ball ever so gently, he rolls it back with the foot.
Yes.
Yet another reason why he is the greatest rugby league player on the planet. Because of his good, stern, honest play the ball.
Well-rounded, you could say. Well-rounded.
He's a renaissance man.
Now, it'd be really nice for us to talk about the Newcastle Knights going into the game against the the Gold Coast Titans,
yeah.
up there in Seabus Super Stadium. Is that right? No, that's
Yeah,
the
why
Seabus
not?
Stadium.
It's a Gold Coast. Who gives a shit?
It's terrible up there.
I think
No one
it's
cares
not
about
that
the
super.
Gold
It's not that super. It's fine. It's Seabus Stadium.
It's also not a bus
Yeah,
in the sea.
yeah.
None of what that stadium's named is true.
Nothing. They've just named words. But a couple of things we have injuries to Leo
Dylan
Thompson.
Lucas,
And,
Leo Thompson,
yeah.
suspension to Kai Pierce-Paul.
Yep.
Where all of a sudden we're ravaged. We're short.
ravaged. We're up there.
We're
short.
running out of reserve graders.
We're going up there with a debutante, which is always nice to see when someone puts on the red and blue. And of
Who's
course,
that debutant name?
Sad-Eye Squarehead, of course, Liam. That is Jermaine McEwen. We got a photo
That's
there.
Jermaine on the screen there.
Right
I think.
there. Yep.
The love child of Jermaine McEwen and Field Marshal Georgi Zhukov.
Yeah. So he'll be playing probably in place of Dylan Lucas.
And then, of course, we got Brodie Jones,
The
heads and
draft.
shoulders, knees and toes. The
Toes.
draft starting in the front row. Thomas Cant coming onto the bench. I love it. I think that's wonderful. Let's get the local boys a run. All of a sudden, as we discussed before, due to astute salary cap and roster management by
Yes.
the two Peters, all of a sudden, these local juniors, who we love, we've
love,
always
we
loved. Jermaine
adore.
McEwen, not a local junior at all, but whatever, I don't give a
Yeah.
shit. We're getting to see local juniors coming through.
Yes.
Frizzell moving back to second row. Do you think that's because he had a stinker?
Do
Do you think ARB pulled him aside and said, don't kick the ball, you idiot, you're going back to the second row?
Yeah, he can't be trusted with the lock. He got the 13 on his back.
Yeah.
He said, hang on a second, 13's basically a 5'8". I've got to give it a bit of a kick.
Yeah.
They
It
said,
was a really good kick.
It was a great kick.
It went off his boot like a goddamn Saturn rocket.
No KPP through to because of suspension because of that
Now,
nasty shoulder charge
I
on our
think-
very own once owned Daniel Saifidi.
I think it was an absolute travesty that he's been given a 2-match suspension for that.
Yeah.
Was it a shoulder charge?
Well,
yes.
his arms are too long.
Was it a shoulder charge? Yes. Did it hit the guy in the head? Yes.
Yes.
Was it awesome? Yes.
Yes.
Also yes.
Yeah.
So I disagree. You know, I'm going to sound like one of the fossilised talking heads on the rugby league panels.
Yeah.
Let the boys play.
Well, I've got
it's a
a-
game for fellas and women.
Something to keep an eye on as well. To keep an eye on the almost impossibility of policing the direct contact of the head, because you see, Liam, your shoulders and your chest are fixed. They don't move anywhere. They can go. Your knees can go up and down, and they bring the
Like
shoulders.
pistons.
They bring the shoulders and the chest up and down. But you see, your head, you can make contact with someone's below the head, but the head will pivot forward and slam into that person's shoulder. So it looks like it's direct contact with the head, but really it's direct contact of the head with the shoulder. It's the head is the one making contact. If anything, they should be probably checking KPP's shoulder. Is his shoulder okay?
You said head and shoulders too many times there. I don't know what the hell just got.
Your head moves.
Your head wobbles.
And everything else stays the same.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
it's really hard to say whether something is direct contact with the head or direct contact just below the head, and the head
I don't know.
slammed,
That was pretty black and white.
slammed
direct
into
contact
it.
with the head.
Slammed into it. I've got it. Your head
That was a
pivot.
pretty easy one.
on
But
a-
it's because, again, Kai Pierce-Paul, he has too much length.
Two big arms.
He still doesn't understand how much lengthiness he has.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what to make of this game,
Still
Nagy.
growing,
The Gold Coast Titans are slight favourites. How the hell that's happened, I don't know. But the Knights have such a weird... I don't know. Whenever the Knights play the Titans,
Yes.
weird things happen.
They do.
They're always such bizarre games. Like last year, was it Knights were up 24 points or
And then
something?
they came back.
Titans
and then,
came back, Knights barely won.
They
There was that great game a few years ago in the rain at Marathon Stadium. Bradman Best scored 2 tries, I think.
Yeah,
It's the kind of game where...
Going back even further, it was 85 tries was against the Titans.
85 tries.
And then there was even further, the winger that was Scottish name. What's his name?
James McManus.
James McManus scored 4 tries against the
Milo Kerrigan himself.
So it's...
He used to be my neighbour.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I heard some things coming out of that house because my window was right next to his bathroom window.
Oh, right. I was singing in the shower. There is a really unfavourable ghost of Nathan Brown that follows us around that we have not won up there at Seabus
shit,
Stadium
we really haven't.
for a long time. The last time we did, we won. That was our third game. We won on the trot, not under Nathan Brown. It was actually under that other fellow. What was the...
Rick Stone.
Rick Stone. And then we went on to get the spoon. One of our better spoons, I must say, Liam. It was one of our better spoons. 8 wins that season.
That's it. You know, most rugby league fans wouldn't know what it's like to have to rank your spoons.
Spoons. Oh, yeah.
They're like, we got the
bad
spoon
spoons.
once.
Yeah.
We're like, we got a better spoon one year than the year before.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing I love about the Titans, Nagy, is that A, no one gives a shit about them, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really.
But B, they're a really, really exciting team. They're the kind of team where the Knights could win 38-32.
Yeah.
And you'd just be like,
Sure.
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
It has no bearing on their form or the rest of the season. You go up there, you play this team that has, got a massive forwards, really quick backs, and coached by a madman. And so it was really just lock yourselves in for a night of entertainment. It's going to be wonderful no matter which way it goes.
It's rugby league. Of course it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be great.
Speaking of rugby league and wonderful things, if you like us, you can find us on all of these social pipes, including Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, and all the rest, Apple Tunes,
We're
Instagram.
not doing Twitter because fuck Elon.
Yeah, we're not doing Twitter anymore. X. Why does he love the letter X?
Because he's an idiot.
Yeah, it seems like he
He's
might
an
be.
edgy 12-year-old.
But please follow us next week, and we'll be back hopefully talking about Newcastle Knights' win against the Gold Coast Titans, and then heading straight into that beautiful 2 points of the bye.
Yum, yum, yum.
Thank you for joining us. Please, taking us out is our musical guest this week, Vincenzo Petroleum.
That was some good.
Wonderful.